My guest for this episode is Mr. Afshin Ghassemi. He's the president and CEO of the Core Pacific Group. We discuss his humble roots and the many complexities of the currency exchange business. We also delve into other life insights. I hope you take something from this conversation. Thank you. Okay, may hapon, Shin. It's good to see you. So, I just wanted to invite you to this very candid talk. So, firstly, I want to ask how you're doing. How's business?
Yeah, I'm doing really good. Business is also improving. As we all know, the effects of the pandemic are starting to wane. So business is improving, and I'm really enjoying basically what I'm doing, like my sports activities, and life's been really good lately.
Siguro we can delve into your humble beginnings. How did you start with the currency exchange business? Because I imagine it must be very tough considering international business and
Correct.
dealing with different currencies.
Yeah. So actually, my dad is a Persian. He was an immigrant. He came to the Philippines in 1979 to study medicine. My mom's a teacher. They're both professionals. The plan was when my dad finishes his studies, his medical studies, medicine, the plan was for us to transfer to his country so that he can practice. Because he cannot practice here sa Philippines because he doesn't have Philippine citizenship. So, and I think my mom tried to convince him, now why don't we do business so that we can stay here in the Philippines. Apparently, my mom's comfort zone was here in Cebu in particular. So we first started in the carpet business. I don't know if you've seen the carpet store we had before, Ghassemi's Persian Carpets.
I might have come
Yeah,
across
it's a store in SM and Ayala. We were selling Persian carpets. It was opened first in Century Plaza, 1993. And then eventually when SM and Ayala opened, we opened in the malls. Then the financial crisis came, the Asian financial crisis.
1997.
The 1997 financial crisis.
So you were still around 13,
second year high
14?
School. Yeah, 14 years old, second year high school. So people weren't buying carpets. It wasn't a priority, definitely,
Di kayo taas ang demand for that.
To start with, di good taas ang demand. And imagine if there is a crisis, so that's double black eye. So people were not buying carpets. So my father thought, he had a side hustle before as a student. What he does is he buys the currencies of his classmates, foreign currencies of his classmates. He buys it. It means to say he gives them Philippine peso and he receives the foreign currency. And he changes it dito sa, if I'm not mistaken, sa aduana. So mura siya runner ba. So he had an idea about how this currency exchange business works. So he suggested to my mom na let's enter the currency exchange business.
So at that time he wasn't 100% yet with that.
What do you mean?
The currency business.
No, yeah, we had the carpet store.
So the focus was the carpet store that time.
The focus
was...
was...
But he had some inkling towards the currency until you guys decided na let's focus on this.
Well, basically, we didn't really start right away with the currency exchange business. It's a very hard business to manage, considering the cash nature of the business, the exchange rates going up and down. So it's a very challenging business. So the preference was first in the carpet, but since nobody was buying carpets, he thought of, we have to survive.
So when did you redirect focus?
1999. Opened our first store in Ayala Center, Cebu. If you've seen that kiosk in the center of Ayala Center, Cebu, So at that time also in Ayala, there were quite a handful of vacant spaces, probably effects also of the crisis, no? So we got that opportunity to get a kiosk, the center of Ayala Center, Cebu, and there were several challenges that happened. I was even telling my dad, I was third year high school then, I told him, might as well close that business. I was telling him to close that business because I hear every day like we lose money because we inputted the wrong exchange rate or we receive fake money or the cashier was stealing money. I hear all those problems every day. So I said, this is not the type of business I think we should
a lot of headache.
A lot of headaches, yeah. So I told my dad, might as well close it and find another solution. But he was stubborn, he was persistent. So he even wanted to open a second store in Ayala Center, Cebu. He felt like there was a need for a second store. So at that time,
so two outlets in the
one
same
mall. Yes. So Ayala opened a new wing called Entertainment Center. I don't know if you remember that.
The
Glicos before,
that
yes.
part, no? Before it became time zone.
Oh, correct.
Yeah.
They opened that and my father said, we should open here. Let's take the opportunity. So of course I was like surprised, despite all the problems. He now wants to expand. So I said, oh, this is weird. Anyway, the store in that entertainment center was opened, I think, 2 years after. And eventually we had a third store in Mactan Marina Mall because he wanted to have a presence in Mactan because that's where the tourists really are, and that's our primary target market at that time. But of course now it's not anymore just foreign tourists. It's overseas Filipino workers as well, diba? When I graduated from college, 2004, I still didn't like the currency exchange business.
But that time, how involved were you? Since I imagine you were in high school, college.
No involvement. I was a student.
So it was your dad, and siguro you would have discussions and you would give inputs.
I wasn't.
And he would try to convince you to, or mold you to join once you graduate.
The funny thing is, he wanted me to be a doctor. Because he's a doctor. He never was able to practice. And he wanted me to be a doctor. So I eventually took one semester in medical technology sa Veles College. And I really didn't like the environment. I felt like, I think this is not the type of environment that I want to work with for the rest of my life. So I felt like, I think I like to be a businessman, like my dad's lifestyle. Because my dad, I saw the lifestyle of my dad, and I prefer that than being a doctor. So I shifted to a course in business, and when I graduated, the first thing in my mind was, what do I grow? What do I expand? Is it the carpet business or the currency exchange business? Because we had both at that time.
So the carpet business wasn't shut down
It wasn't
yet.
shut down because there were still customers.
When did you close it?
I think we closed it just a year ago or 2 years ago.
Oh, just recently.
Just recently.
So it went on actually for
it went on for
years.
For so long. But of course, towards the latter part, it wasn't making money anymore. It was really the currency exchange business where we were focusing. Anyway, so what happened was, I said I will expand our carpet business. I wanted to open in Vismin muna kasi there was already a player in Luzon who had a very strong presence. So I wanted to find my niche in the Visayas Mindanao region. Of course, the challenge there is transporting the carpets because we're separated by water. It's not like Luzon, you can just ride a truck and deliver anywhere sa Luzon, diba? And I didn't. I applied in Cagayan de Oro. I applied in Davao, in the malls. No, I applied everywhere in Vismin, like Bacolod, and the only opportunity I got was Iloilo. And I didn't know nga Ilonggos are very stingy.
Stingy.
Yeah.
But if
Well,
you see
actually, I
now,
heard.
Iloilo's booming now, actually.
Yeah, it is, but carpets are not considered
Still
their
not.
priority, di ba?
Yeah.
Cebuanos at that time were, there were beautiful houses already. So, well, in my young mind, aggressive mind, I thought I can duplicate whatever we did in Cebu. I thought we could duplicate it anywhere.
Yeah, perhaps that was your learning curve.
Yeah,
or
that was the effect of some immaturity. So,
realizations come from
Uh-huh.
those experiences.
so eventually, I had to close down the Iloilo store, and I said, if I cannot expand the carpet, then this is not the business I should be focusing, because I don't want me to be in an industry where I'm stagnant. I really want to be in an industry that I can grow big, because I was really an ambitious person by nature. And so I said, okay, I'll put my hand in the currency exchange business, and my dad told me that's a very difficult business to expand. He told me the most we can do is to have multiple stores in Cebu and probably Bohol. But if you're dreaming about having a store in Manila or in Lawag or in where Isabela or whatever, where we are right now, Pangasinan, whatever you call it, General Santos, all over the Philippines. My dad said that's not possible, but I was like very stubborn. I was very aggressive.
So how did you manage that, your squabbles with your dad? So who would have the final say? Because I imagine that can, of course, get toxic.
Very interesting question. Up to this very day, we still have squabbles.
Yeah, so how do you come
clash,
to
we clash a lot. At the end of the day, he gives me freedom to make decisions, because I demand for my freedom. I feel like I deserve that freedom. But I also tell him that I'm ready to face the consequence of my decisions. Whether I'm right or I'm wrong, I'm ready to face. If I fail, then I face it.
Yeah.
If I succeed, then kudos to me. I was not afraid to fail. So I told my parents, you have to let me succeed and fail on my own. So I think they gave me that space. Eventually, I was able to open the currency exchange store, from 1 branch every month to 5 branches every month to 10 branches every month. So it just kept multiplying and multiplying.
What year were you 100%? What period of time?
I would say the turning point was again another financial crisis, the subprime mortgage crisis of 2008. That was the time that again there were vacancies in
Yeah, a
'cause
lot
in
of
in the mall in our business, it's really about getting the good spaces, and the good spaces come when others.
So during a crisis, a lot close, shut down. So
And that's
a lot
when
of
we come-
vacancies. Then you
Then
can
that's when we
enter.
come in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've always been a person who considers a crisis an opportunity.
Yeah.
And much of my wins in life happened in crisis time.
Because I think opportunities come in and you can makapwesto ka ba? You can
Correct.
position yourself once the crisis is over. 'Cause
Correct,
the
yeah.
crisis wouldn't last.
It's cyclical.
Forever.
Ups and downs. It comes like a cycle.
Mm.
So always position yourself when things are down and start reaping the benefits when things are up.
Okay. If I may ask, do you have a background in finance?
My background is in
how did you
management.
learn forex, all this trading?
Good question. Well, I have to give that to my father. The my skills in life, I have to give that to my parents. Life skills and business skills. Although I went to a formal business school, I still think the most valuable lessons come from the experience of my parents in business, and that's where I learned a lot. I learned actually by observing, because I wasn't really groomed to be a businessman.
What did you want
I was-
to be?
I
What
was-
your
I didn't
what was
know.
the vision
I
when you were
didn't
a
know
child?
what I want to be. That's the funny thing.
But you strike me as someone passionate, driven. So maybe early on, what was the
Early on-
go-to career paths?
Early on, my only focus was to get good grades, because that was what my father wanted me to achieve. I was rewarded according to my grades. So if I get good grades, I get to watch TV freely. I will be rewarded with a car when I graduate.
Merit-based. No?
Yeah, that was the mindset. And I realized that having too much focus on achieving in school made me forget what I want to become.
Sometimes you need to think out of the box. No? More
I
on
really forgot that I have to choose a course. And eventually, when I had to choose a course, my dad was already dictating to me what I should be taking. Of course, I followed what he liked, which is to take up medicine. And I realized I didn't like it, so I shifted. Good, it only was one semester, and I was able to shift right away. Of course, some friends came, advised me, if you like to be in business, or if you want to get out of medicine, you have another future waiting for you. So you just have to make that decision.
Okay. But how do you set up a currency exchange business? I imagine the permits, regulations, and so forth. The complying with all of those.
Actually, it was easier to set it up before. Now it's almost impossible.
So a lot of red tape and all
There's
this.
so much red tape, and the BSP, or the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, is very strict with us. We are called money service businesses, because the Philippines is in, we don't have a good grade in money laundering. We have a bad grade.
Of course.
We have a bad grade in prevention of money laundering. So they're very strict on finance institutions, banks, remittance, pawn shops, money changers. They're very strict that we do not become conduits for the movement of illegal money. So that's why, to comply with that, several things to do. And aside from BSP, then you have the typical red tape in business, like business permits, occupancy permits, you have like building permits.
I imagine a lot of frustration since things in this country sometimes are really slow and sluggish.
It is. But well, you really don't have a choice but to to find a way to go through that, to get it done, di ba? But for an aspiring businessman, sometimes it's discouraging, especially when foreigners come here and they see, because we are required to display all our permits by the different government agencies. And then when foreigners come and they see all of these are required to do business in the Philippines just to change money. So that's the reality, but I don't think it's a deterrent. If you're really persistent, then it can be done.
So the focus is absolutely necessary.
Persistence, I would say. Persistence, discipline, and really the can-do attitude. That's very important.
What about in terms of branding and marketing? How did you come up with the name Core Pacific? And how
Good.
do you ensure that, of course, people
Good
come
question.
trust you, given that you were unknown and new that time?
Exactly. Well, when I came into the business, there was no money exchange brand. And my vision was to be the Jollibee of money changers. That was my vision. I wanted to create a brand that is known all over the country.
Top of mind.
Top of
brand.
mind all over the country. That was, very ambitious, but that was what I wanted to do. And my dad, when he started our money exchange business, it wasn't Core Pacific. It was GPC Money Changer. And
I think I
GPC,
noticed, yeah. a different
GPC
name.
stands for Ghassemi's Persian Carpets. That's how it started. So GPC Money Changer. I wanted to expand it. I said, I don't feel like I could create a brand from
You need
3
something
letters.
catchier.
I need
that
something
will
that
pick
sounds
up.
more world class. Something that people.
Especially international.
Correct. Then of course I
Market.
said I just want something with the word Pacific. I felt like Pacific was a word that evokes some
Yes.
international respect. And then maybe the word core just, core means being at the core of everything. Core means being the center of everything. That's how we joined the words core and Pacific. Basically, that's the
Okay.
history.
But early on, what was your vision for Core Pacific? Who was your target market?
Mhm.
Did you really expect you'd reach to, as you say, 250 plus branches?
300 branches.
Well, 300 branches.
Correct.
Most recently.
I saw an opportunity when I was in my early 20s because I felt like Filipinos will really seek work abroad. So definitely they will be holding foreign currency. And you cannot use foreign currency to purchase things here in the Philippines. So somehow, somewhere, you need to convert this to the local currency. And later on, I realized that Filipinos will want to go to other countries. And they will need to bring with them foreign currency to the countries that they are going to go to. So I knew there was an opportunity, and there was really no brand, no dominant brand in this particular business, primarily because it's a very difficult business. It's not a business that people will, fight for. They really want, a lot of players coming in. It's a very difficult business to manage. So, but we're already there. We have already the system. The key there is to find ways to multiply and duplicate the system in a national scale. So the vision was really to be the Jollibee of money changers. To be known to anyone who needs and wants to transact converting currencies, foreign currencies to the local currency and vice versa. So eventually, I'm sorry, your question was, did I think that we will grow this much?
Yeah, did you envision that back then?
I did, even more. I feel like I am underperforming. My vision was even bigger than what we have achieved today. I was just a very ambitious person. When I took over the business, it was a very small business. But I was very driven and ambitious. So And I was the type who really believed I can do it also. I had that belief. I didn't have second thoughts that whether I'll succeed or not. Because once you have doubts, that's when you cannot achieve things.
But your dad now, how involved is he?
He's very much involved in personnel, especially in discipline. He ensures that nobody, to make it simple, he makes sure nobody steals money. And he goes into he's involves himself in the hiring process, training process of the employees. So I would say he's very much involved in personnel.
But speaking of expansion, at times there are threats when you expand that you might overstretch or it's
Correct.
hard to control or
Correct.
oversee or manage. So how do you ensure, of course, there must have been cases of theft in the past or employees with, of course, integrity issues. How do you enforce strict controls? Especially that you're branching out Luzon, Mindanao, very far areas.
I think to start with, you have to have tolerance for mistakes. You have to have tolerance for, as a businessman, if you really want to grow, you cannot think that if I do this, then there's this problem. If I do this, there's this problem. Therefore, I should not do this. That's usually the problem of people, why they get stuck. Because once they do something, they always have a con. They forget about the pros because the con is already, the constraint is already dominating that thought. So mine was different. I always said I can't tolerate problems. I know it's not gonna be perfect. I know that expanding at a rapid pace can create a lot of, as I'm sure you know about this, because you're in a very similar case as ours.
Yeah.
Rapidly expanding really has several problems that comes with it, and so you can proceed with that decision, you must be able to tolerate. But of course, tolerance does not mean that you are complacent. Tolerance means that when there is a problem, then you solve it. You don't stress over it. You just have to solve one problem at a time. And then eventually, and just have the mentality that there will always be problems. The key is just to solve these problems.
So it goes back to the attitude and mindset.
Yeah, the mindset.
The philosophy going into it. Because I think some are also too afraid to take risks.
Too afraid.
So they don't venture, so no rewards also.
Yeah. No risk, no reward.
Yeah. Okay. But how do you discern on a certain area or market or location? How do you say, let's enter this mall or this spot? How do you assess the feasibility?
Yeah. Well, initially, the plan was to expand in markets where we find large populations. And we found out that markets with large populations are actually more competitive. Our margins are are squeezed because there are more, competitors. We found out that even in second tier, third tier cities, there is less volume, but there's better quality.
So there are pros and cons.
Correct. So we found out that we can actually duplicate the model not just in the areas with large populations, but even in areas with little population. But to be honest, it's really a hit and miss situation.
But would you say each area is unique? It has its own good and bad?
Well, yeah. It's all in our case. It's always when there's a lot of volume, there's more competition. therefore lesser margins. When there's less volume, less competition, better margins. So it's never a case where you have lots of volume with bigger margins. There's no such thing. Whenever there's a market, there's always somebody else trying to get a pie, get a piece of that pie.
Yeah, there's always a downside.
There's always a downside, correct.
But what about presently in Cebu? Are there many players now? How many main competitors or?
I would say there are small players, maybe who has one or two branches, maybe a proprietor who has one or two branches, but really no one in the scale of ours. National presence with 300 stores.
Okay. How do you ensure that you hire really good staff?
Good
Of
question.
course, because it involves customer service. You'd be dealing with different cultures.
Personnel has always been we always lack personnel. Ever since, whether our size is 100, 50, 250, 300, we always lack personnel because we just need to hire a lot of people. And in fact, we have some stores that we can't open because we still are training the personnel who will handle the stores, or we have to hire the personnel who will handle the stores. It's a very unique case in our part because we're not just there to make sure you're gonna be good in customer service. We're not just there to be sure that this person is smart enough to understand what is fake, what is what is the right rate, the correct exchange rates, or the different denominations, or he or she should be good in multiplying, dividing, basic math. We also have to make sure that this person is honest and has integrity.
So both competence, qualifications.
Correct.
And of course, integrity. Can this person be trusted holding all that money?
And the challenge is our employees are not like master's degree type of people. I mean, most of them are. I mean, it's very good to have college graduates. Some are college level, and not really from the cream of the crop na mga schools, diba? But these are the hard workers. Sometimes you don't have to come from Ateneo, or you don't have to come from UP to be a really good candidate for the job. We found out na even the schools na simple lang, they actually raring to prove because they know that they don't have the resume to, di ba? So sometimes the people who are out to prove something are the most effective people.
Because they're more driven. No?
They're more driven.
They have more to prove.
They want to prove. But if you're from the top schools, maybe you already feel like you're
the underdog. No?
the underdog mentality. Correct. Underdog mentality is sometimes very.
They're the overachievers because they work extra hard.
Yeah. I like to work with underdogs actually.
Okay.
They're more humble as well, and more willing to be trained.
Willing to learn, more open-minded.
Correct.
But what's the worst experience you've had in the many years? Have you sent someone to jail because of someone who couldn't remit, or
I've heard a story. There's a story like this to make it short. One of our cashiers claimed that my mom's relative arrived in the store and wanted to come in. And that relative, kuno.
That's a red flag immediately.
Oh, imagine letting a relative come in. Our rule is the only one who can enter the store are bona fide personnel. I mean, who cares if that person is a relative? So, ipasod niya sa store ang relative. And the worst thing is, the relative was able to convince her to buy KFC.
Really? That bad?
That bad. So, to buy KFC. And the one katong pagpahawa niya, pagpalit niya KFC, balik niya, wa na itaw, hurot ng kwarta. But obviously, that was an inside job. That was just a, there's obviously some conspiracy going on there. In fact, when our lawyer...
was in the mall or?
In the mall, and our lawyer was defending, when we were trying to prosecute the cashier, our defense was this is beyond the normal, I forgot the term, beyond the normal, something like it's beyond normal that somebody comes in and you will be asked to buy, and you leave your branch there knowing that your vault is open, not even closing and locking the vault. That was a conspiracy. That was obviously a conspiracy.
How much was stolen?
I could not really remember, but it was a considerable amount of money.
But justice was served.
Apparently, she was detained, and there was a lengthy court process, and eventually the court will really want beyond reasonable doubt that blah blah blah. So she was just told to pay us.
And she did.
And I don't know if they don't have the capacity to pay. So I'm not sure if she's fully paid by now. But basically, they get away with those things. But that was before the advent of CCTV.
So this was mid-2000s or?
Early 2005, 6. That was before the advent of CCTVs. And then eventually, when CCTV technology came, things like this did not happen again because everything is recorded. We even get to record voice and of course videos as well. So, but anyway, those things happen.
So you started in Cebu. When did you venture into Luzon, Mindanao?
Our first branch outside Cebu was in Tagbilaran. That was Bohol. Proximity was the reason why we chose that. And it was in 2007, I suppose, in Island City Mall. And it did really well. And eventually, Robinson's Mall opened a branch in Dumaguete. And that was our first relationship with Robinson's Mall. And the next branch that Robinson's Malls opened was in Lawag. And I made a promise to Robinson's Malls. I said, okay, I will serve your customers wherever you open. That was my bold promise. Wherever you open in the Philippines, I will be there to support you and serve your customers. Because it's a symbiotic relationship. Their customers will need foreign exchange to purchase around the mall, diba? So the malls also need reliable tenants. And that's what I promised them. And the second branch came in Lawag. So I said, my dad was saying, how will you manage that? I remember bringing a cashier. At that time, our cashiers were all from Cebu because we need to know them, to know their background and everything. And I brought this cashier with me to Lawag. And when I left her, she was crying. She was crying and telling me, sir, you're leaving me here. So that was the story. And eventually, after that, one branch after another just opened. So imagine if I can open in Lawag, in the northernmost city in the Philippines. There's no reason why I can't open in Angeles, Pampanga, or in Laguna, in San Pablo, or wherever it is, in maybe Tarlac, or wherever it is. Because you can do it in Lawag. Why not even nearer, diba? That was the story.
So you have tie-up with all the major malls, Robinsons,
it's not really
SM, Ayala,
it's not
Gaisano.
It's not really a tie-up in the sense that we are contractually obligated, but it's more of us supporting the malls, considering the support we also get from the malls.
So it's a win-win, of course.
Yes, it's not really contractually stipulated that we should do that, but we found out that it's our way of also being to show gratitude as well to our lessors. Because normally when you open new malls, it's not really that successful immediately. Because there were times when people were opening malls in the middle of grassland or
Yeah.
where there are really no, because people, mall developers, sometimes they open malls to stimulate growth.
Yeah, they bring in the people there. I think
Yeah.
that's how SM started.
Correct. It's like I put the mall first, and then
And people will go.
residential will follow, office will follow, entertainment will follow. But there's another approach now. It's malls come last, because who will be your customers if there is no community around? But again, some malls go into areas where there's no community, and that's a sacrifice for tenants. But we do that because that's our way of saying thank you for the support we also get from the malls in areas where they're doing well.
Okay. Given the different areas you cover, which area gives you the least headache in terms of people handling or less stealing?
I would say there is no particular area. I think every area is capable of giving the same problems. And every area is capable of giving the same headache. So it really depends on who you put there. And again, sometimes it's hits and misses. There's no perfect formula to say that, okay, this is a perfect person. Sometimes in business, it's a hit and miss. I'm not gonna come out here and say I'm a very good at forecasting or detecting, or sometimes you just have to take a risk and see what happens.
Okay. What advice would you give to people who want to venture into
Currency exchange.
currency exchange?
Well, at this particular point, it will be very difficult to enter because of the different government required compliance. No? So I think that's really a big deterrent, and the government also doesn't want to have a lot of players in the industry, because that's to be more difficult for them to monitor. So they technically, to a certain extent, it's very difficult to comply. But if you really are determined and you think like you want to start this business, of course, the first thing I would tell you is you should be disciplined. You should have capital to start with. Once you have the capital, you should be very disciplined to make sure you don't use that capital in non-business related things. A lot of people I know don't really succeed in business in general because they don't have the money to invest anymore because they use it for personal things.
Yeah, mga gasto.
Like they get tempted to buy a new car or a new TV or whatever. My father was very strict with finances growing up. We won, our biggest break in business came when we actually won a car, a brand new car. So we bought Tamaraw FX for our carpet business because it's good for delivery.
Yeah, it's practical,
Yes.
spacious.
And we got a ticket in a Toyota raffle, and we were the first one to have a RAV4 in the Philippines. The first RAV4 in the Philippines was actually ours, and we won that via raffle. And me, I really love cars even early on, so I told my father, don't sell it, let's enjoy this car. a lot of people were interested. A lot of people who had money were interested. And my father said, there's no way we're keeping this car. We're selling this car and we're using the capital for our business. And a lot of people don't have the strength to do that.
Yeah, lack discipline.
Could you imagine giving up the only RAV4 in the Philippines to use it as capital for the business?
Very practical, and I think that paid off. That
And
was
a
a
lot
good
of people,
decision.
I believe, will not have that strength to do so. Like my mom personally was having the same opinion as me, which was to keep the car and enjoy it. But my dad was firm, I'm selling this car. So of course we followed his lead. And the rest is history. We had some capital to use. That was 1 million plus pud. Capital. So in business, you should have capital. And you should be very, very disciplined.
But very practical, I think.
Yeah.
That paid off well.
And you should be very hands-on to start the business. A lot of people think that you can be immediately like us, karon, we have key executives
Yeah.
with handling our businesses.
Learning the ropes, you need to be micromanage.
To start the business.
Before you delegate, you have to know
Exactly.
the ins and outs.
I've been a cashier. I've been everything. I've been a janitor. I've even delivered carpets to the houses of our clients. I've carried a carpet to the parking slot of my client. One time pa, lovers pa sila, hinay pagiging ang lakaw, love pa sila, niya ako naghunod. So I've done everything.
So humble roots. No?
Yeah, I've done everything. So basically whatever my employees are doing now, I've basically experienced that.
Yeah.
So you should be very hands-on. And well, of course, when you grow bigger, then it's impossible. It's also a disadvantage to micromanage and to be hands-on.
More on macro thinking already.
It depends on the stage of your business.
Because you also need to be efficient.
Correct.
I think at this point, you can't play the role of cashier anymore.
No more. I don't even get to visit a lot of branches anymore. I've never seen a lot of our branches. I've never seen a lot of our cashiers.
Have you been to all your branches,
No,
or have
no.
you met all your staff?
No, I haven't. That's something that's something I miss. The personal connection
Yeah.
to our staff, and personal connection of the feeling of seeing a store newly opened. These are the things I don't get to experience anymore.
Do you inaugurate every store?
No, we don't have formal inaugurations. Just a simple, we're open for business. Very transactional.
But you find time to travel to oversee the stores, or you just look through it through
I'm
the
planning
system?
to do so. I'm planning to spend more time visiting more stores, getting to feel what's happening on the ground. Because, well, as a new father,
Time management.
tendency is I'm stuck with my kids and working from home. And I'm also very busy with my multi-sport training. So there's so much in my plate to the point that, getting to a store and spending so much time in traffic, or getting to a flight and getting to another city, parang it's very difficult to actually do. But I'm planning to do so. That's one of the things I have to improve, because it's different when you get to spend time with your employees.
Yeah, the relationship with employees.
And you get to hear more of what's really going on. Because sometimes we just look from above. We don't know what's really
The full picture. Or
correct. Oh,
actual situation on
that's
the ground.
correct. That's correct.
Okay. You mentioned multi-sport.
Mhm.
I saw some of your posts, like you've been joining marathons. When did that journey begin? Were you always sporty as a kid? Were you a health buff, or?
No. I am not gifted with good genes in athletics. Definitely, my parents are not into sports. But I did love basketball, but I wasn't really a good basketball player. I was just an average person who likes to enjoy playing basketball. Not that type na varsity or or star player. I'm not that type. I'm just I'm not flexible. I don't have good lateral movement. So I'm not gifted genetically in athleticism. But there's so much in sports that I love. I love the discipline. I love the preparation. I love the competition. Those are the things that I love in sports. And eventually, in 2017, I was diagnosed with an injury called annular tear. And the annulus is in our spine, and it had a tear. So I was advised na you cannot play basketball. It's difficult for you. I always had back pain. I couldn't even straighten my body sometimes.
So you weren't injured. There were just symptoms of
Yeah.
pain.
It's probably genetic because my grandfather, I see him, he wasn't walking straight anymore when he was old. So the lower back pain was there, and I couldn't even walk or sit nicely, so it was that bad. Then, I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, of course, we're not gonna suggest any surgery. We're just gonna suggest you to tweak your lifestyle. And what does that mean? You're not playing basketball anymore. You shift your sports to swimming, because swimming is low impact.
Not very intense, right?
And it develops your core. And it's a full body workout. Then I said, okay, I swim going back and forth. This is so different from the excitement and adrenaline that I get from basketball. So what can I do? I mean, this is torture. Then I thought, at the back of my mind, hey, swimming is part of an Ironman event. So I said, might as well join Ironman. Then I said, of course I can't bike because I have a bad back injury and I can't run. So I said, okay, I'll form a team with my best friends, Dr. Pierre Melia and Dr. Soy Peña. Let's form a relay team. So I did the swim, Pierre did the bike, and Dr. Peña did the run. The swim was a very tough thing for me because I didn't know how to swim freestyle. I just knew kanang simple lang a swim ba, kanang baki-baki ba. I didn't even know kanang competitive swimming. So I started from zero, so I decided to join Ironman 70.3 Cebu August 2017, and I didn't know how to swim March 2017 pa. So I got a coach.
Quite recent, not too long ago.
Not too long ago. I got a coach. The coach taught me the basics, and I asked my coach, Coach, makahuman ka kuan ning Ironman swim? Siya, Sir, wa man ka time giapas. Kahuman ra lagi ka basta. There was a 70-minute cut-off, by the way, ha. And if I don't make it to the cut-off, the entire team is disqualified. If I cannot swim 1.9 kilometers in 70 minutes, my biker and runner could not continue. So there was so much pressure on me. And then Cebu was known to have a difficult swim course because of the current. Eventually, I was like training every day and really giving it my all. And even while swimming, you get to a point where you ask, why am I even doing this? It was that intense. So, but I was able to make it. We were able to finish our first really competition. And eventually, I found the Ironman atmosphere very exciting, and I felt it was very adrenaline. There's a lot too much adrenaline. So I said, okay, I want to do all three: the swimming, biking, and running. And I was told, okay, you can do that, but you have to strengthen your core. So I went through a very long process of strengthening my core. I have a good physical therapist who helps me on that. Uh, and basically, later on, I started biking and then running, and the rest is history.
How many Ironmans have you joined in total?
If I'm not mistaken, it should be around 7 or 8 half Ironmans. 70.3. And the reason why I got into marathons lately is because we have ambitions to join a full Ironman. So what we have in Cebu is half rana siya. Kanang 1.9 kilometer swim, 90 kilometer bike, and 21 kilometer run. Half rana siya. Ang full is double. 3.8 kilometer swim, 180 kilometer bike. Yeah, after that, you have to run 42 km pa. So I said, I have to at least start practicing for a 42 km run. Okay? I have never done that, and my first was last January 2023 sa Cebu Marathon. And it was so painful. Sakit kayo, okay? Imagine running 42 kilometers. I found it even more difficult than a half Ironman, to be honest. Then eventually, later on, my muscles started to adapt, and I got my personal best in Berlin. I finished 42 kilometer run in 3 hours and 39 minutes. This is almost around 12 kilometers per hour.
So this is your best record?
So far. Of course, I'm aiming to qualify for Boston. And to qualify for Boston, I have to finish a full marathon in less than 3 hours. So that's what I'm training for. That means I have to run mga 14 plus kilometers per hour. The entire 42 km.
So like now, how often do you run or train?
I train almost every day.
This is outdoor or
Indoor.
treadmill?
I do indoor na lang. My races are cold naman coming. I have New York Marathon coming on November 5. And then I have California Ironman, half Ironman on December 3. So these are cold settings. So I don't need to acclimatize to the hot weather. Katong mga Philippine races, I needed to train outdoors. I need to acclimatize to the heat. Kani bugna no, that's why I'm getting my complexion back. There was a time I was very dark. Kasi buwad sa init ba.
Bro, you're half Filipino.
Yeah, half Filipino. My father is an Iranian, formerly called Persia, and my mom's a pure Filipina. So I'm half Filipino, half Iranian.
Okay. Any training tips on people who want to improve? Of course, the discipline is hard, especially with swimming and running, because unlike basketball, it's of course interactive, or even boxing. So the time goes by fast. With running, you have to be focused. So where do you find that?
Number one advice, consistency. In endurance sport, you really need consistency. Apart from the typical, you need to be disciplined, persistent, passionate. I need to say you need to be consistent. No matter how slow you are, how short you can run, as long as you consistently do it on a regular basis, on a day, if you could do it on a daily basis, you're definitely going to improve.
How do you handle the boredom when running?
That's my gift.
What do you think about?
I think about improving only. I think about getting faster. That's what keeps me like running in the treadmill for 1 hour, 2 hours, or swimming in the pool for 10 kilometers. I've done that. It's always thinking about, I'm gonna be better because I'm doing this. So it's really my hunger for improvement. Because as a multi-sport athlete, our goal is always to be better than
beating your own previous record.
Than yesterday. So, but I also look at myself against others. Like my ultimate goal is to be in the top 10% of prestigious competition like the World Marathon Majors. And in Berlin, I was in the top 20%. So my goal is to be in the top 10%. So that's like how I compare myself against others. But it's not like I want to be number one. That's impossible. I cannot be Kipchoge or, diba? It's impossible. I just look at myself as a person in terms of percentages. So for those aspiring to be runners or multi-sport athletes, it's really consistency that you have to do. And the benefits are very tangible. It gives you mental and physical
clarity, focus.
Exactly. It gives you a lot of mental and physical benefits. Physical, of course, a healthier heart,
energy, clearer mind, better
clearer
sleep.
mind. But of course, in my case, like training so hard actually sometimes makes me tired. It makes me sleep more than the required 8 hours to recover. So it depends on the level actually. But for an average person, like 30 minutes to 1 hour of exercise can really help clearing the mind, giving you energy as you go throughout your day.
The race you ran, was that where Kipchoge joined?
He was there.
He was there.
Eliud Kipchoge won that race actually in Berlin, and it was, I think, his 5th or 6th win in Germany. He's been winning that course, but there's a guy who Kiptum who actually beat Kipchoge's record. Actually, their only difference is a few seconds. But he did the full marathon in 2 hours and 35 seconds. To give you a perspective, that's like 21 kilometers per hour of speed. So if you go to a treadmill...
What pace is that?
Pace is around 2 minutes plus per kilometer. So imagine in the treadmill, when you press 10, for some people, kusog na kayo ng 10. And 10 is like only 6 minutes per kilometer.
6-minute pace, no?
Di ba?
Then that's already hago.
Hago na sa uban.
Like you can't keep that up throughout.
Kato si Kiptum was, imagine, 21 siya. That's like 2-minute kapin pace.
Oh, very fast.
Very fast. Ako, I practice at 12 to 13, which is around 5 minutes to 4 minutes and 30 seconds pace per kilometer.
You consider Kipchoge the greatest marathoner of all time?
I
or
would
who are your idols in that
actually
field?
No, it's not really as dramatic as it is in basketball. I think we all have our picks on who's the greatest basketball player. In running, I think Kipchoge is definitely up there, primarily because he's done it several times. He's 38 years old and he still keeps on winning. So as we know, as we age, we start to lose that.
But even at that age, he's
still competing, no? But I'm not really the type who follows who's the best runner or stuff. Okay. I'm still a basketball fan.
Who's your greatest?
Good question.
In basketball, are you one of those who get into the Jordan LeBron
No,
debate?
I'm not in the mood for that debate. But I did get a very good insight from a learning event in entrepreneurs organization called. We had a talk with Norman Black, which just happened last Saturday, and he was asked who do you think is the greatest basketball player, and his answer was, it really depends on what era you are. Because if you are in an era where you never saw Michael Jordan play, you'll never get to appreciate his greatness. You'll really be very convinced that it's LeBron James. But for people who were born in the 80s,
those who actually witnessed, no?
Michael Jordan knows that Jordan was one of the best. But I'm a very big LeBron James fan because I just love the... Not only the way he plays. I mean, I like the way he brands himself. He projects himself in terms of how he is a family man and his choices of products and things. I like that. But of course, Jordan was one of the greatest. But a lot of people who were born in the 60s and 70s think that the greatest is probably Magic Johnson, or probably the greatest is Larry Bird, Wilt Chamberlain, diba? It really depends on what era. It really depends on what era, diba? You are. So I think that debate will never end. There is no objective way of knowing who's the greatest.
Championships and stats, but of course,
one person cannot win a championship.
Different playing eras, so different style.
But interestingly, Norman Black finished his statement with, "I still think Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time."
Yeah. Well, me personally, I consider Jordan the greatest. But of course,
Of course, if he was born in this
opinion.
era, if Jordan was playing in this era, he will have access to the advancements in training of this era as well. Because the playing field is not equal. During that time, you will see them, sige lag weights, now it's more on core strengthening. Kita kang LeBron.
Well, it's more advanced now.
It's more advanced, diba? Because they have more...
the regimens.
They have more research, more
even
knowledge.
The nutrition and so forth.
So if you put the two people side by side in the same era, they have access to the same preparation. And that will be a fairer debate.
Yeah. But with basketball, it's very hard because it's a team sport.
It's a team sport, exactly. Diba?
Plus different competition.
So championships is never... otherwise, if championships is the barometer, then you would probably go
Bill Russell.
Bill Russell, who
11
rings in all of his fingers.
Okay. Yeah. Going back to running, what about shoes? Do you have a favorite like Nike, Adidas? Because now you hear about Vaporfly, Alphafly.
Yes, good question. Good question. I like that question.
Pegasus, Adios 3,
Adios,
all
Adios
that.
Pro. Correct. The truth is,
Or
the
even
best,
Asics. I've heard Asics is
Correct.
good, New Balance and all that.
The answer is, for me, and I've read about this, the answer is it really depends on a particular person, what is the best shoe for him or her. Every shoe is designed differently.
Depends on your foot.
Depends
how it
on
feels,
your foot.
your experience with it.
Like me, I have all. I have Hoka, I have Adidas, I have Asics, I have Nike. I have all those pairs of shoes.
What's your favorite?
But I still wear the Nike. Just because the Nike really fits well to me. But
Which
it's not
one?
Alpha Fly. But it's not even perfect. My Alpha Fly that I always use in marathons kills my toenails. If I go to Vaporfly, it doesn't kill my toenail, but it's already tiring sa akong legs after 21K. So murag,
different
pros
experiences.
and cons. Like, which disadvantage are you willing to swallow? That's always the key there.
But some shoes are more for training, diba? Some are more for race.
Yes, there is.
So
there
depends.
is such thing as that, training shoe and racing shoe. But in my case, I use always the shoe. I train in the shoe that I race on. That's usually what I do. But if you want to be efficient and cost effective, you don't use your race shoes for your training. Okay, race shoes man good is like a race tire. Dali sige mahilis.
Yeah.
In fact, the latest shoe that Adidas is offering in the market at $500 per pair, the Adidas Adios Evo Pro, is only good for one marathon.
Oh.
One marathon
One
and
use
one
only.
use. Tanaw ni mo luyo, murag yung Pirelli.
Plus pag na.
Kanang kuan kay ba? Grabe ka ni. Because they're trying to lose weight.
Okay.
Running, biking, swimming, maybe not swimming, running and biking, weight is a very big determinant of speed. The heavier you are, the slower you are. The lighter you are, the faster you are. So if your shoes is lighter, that's an advantage. That's incremental advantage. Mona siya.
Okay. What about in terms of your personal regimen or diet? Do you subscribe to IF or Goho? There are so many different diets, all meat or vegan. So, do you have any particular diet?
To start with, my wife subspecializes in clinical nutrition. So I have an advantage there. My wife is an internal medicine specialist who subspecializes in clinical nutrition and who wants to subspec pag yun sa sports nutrition. So I have some sort of advantage there. When I started training, when speed was not the primary goal, it was more of developing my aerobic capacity. The goal was really, the key there was training my body to utilize fat as fuel. So that was training without food. That was the start. So I run, fasted. So it trains my body to actually use my fats.
So you run without
Food.
any intake?
Wala. O, normally when we run, and especially at a high kanang intensity, it uses our carbs or sugar for energy. But if we run at lower intensities and we're trying to develop our aerobic capacity, it's using our fat. And to train the body to use fat as fuel is to train without food. But that was before, when I started, my base. Now, because I'm more into speed,
You have to eat.
I have to eat. So I always eat. Actually, I want to lose more weight, pero I've plateaued to a
Balance.
certain point already. Murag, it's becoming very difficult to lose weight na.
Now that you're a certain age,
Um,
you just turned 40, right?
I just turned 40.
So you're feeling the slower metabolism.
Well, I'm actually a type of person who easily gains weight and easily loses it. But after a certain level, then it plateaus. So according to my wife, if I want to lose more weight, I have to go through like mga katimgingon, IF, kanang pakalitan. Because,
Yeah.
but it doesn't mean nga IF is the only solution. Na. If
But
you
you've done IF.
I've done it, but sparingly, because I cannot tolerate the sacrifice. I love to eat. Bala like small frequent, basta nalay makaon. I wouldn't also tell people nga IF is the only solution. Okay, some people think nga IF is a like big or solution to their problem. Once your body adapts to your IF routine, then di na pud ka mo lose, ana. The key there is to consistently shock your body
Yeah.
with
Para
different.
A new experience for your body.
Correct. Okay, once your body recognizes a
It
routine,
plateaus, then it's hard to
adapt na siya.
break the plateau if your body's familiar with a certain
Correct.
routine.
Correct. So you should try another diet na sad. Oh na.
But you have no restrictions. You eat anything, carbs, rice, pasta.
I have to eat carbs
Well, of course, for speed.
for energy. But basically, the ideal diet is having half of your plate as vegetables, 1/4 of your plate as carbs, and the remaining 1/4 as protein. That's the most ideal composition for meals.
But you stay away from sugar, or you indulge once in a while.
I should be staying away, but that's easier said than done.
Yeah. Okay. What about alcohol? Sometimes you can't.
I like that question.
Like escape, of course, events, and
I like that
sometimes
question.
to unwind with whiskey, gin, or
I have
or beer.
I have a problem called migraine. I am a migraineur, and alcohol is a trigger. So I get to escape alcohol because I know if I drink alcohol, I will develop migraine.
So you're prone to migraines.
I'm prone to migraine. In fact, they relax the muscles in my scalp prior to races. Okay, trigger is heat, trigger is alcohol, and I have a scheduled injection actually on Wednesday. They inject something here to relax the muscles. Okay, migraine man good, the muscles keep on contracting. That's why you have headache. So they basically relax the muscles here.
That's genetic, or did
Genetic.
you develop
Genetic,
that
yeah.
recently, or when you
Ever
were
since
younger?
I was a young kid.
Okay.
Suki na kog Ponstan pagkabata pa lang.
Paracetamol, all these
Ponstan
ibuprofen.
SF.
Okay. What about your role as a father, as a husband? I know
Yeah.
you have two kids. How's family life?
Oh, beautiful. Having two beautiful kids, having a very supportive wife, and always being with them is a big blessing, I would say. Not everyone has the privilege of being with their family all the time because of work.
So how do you balance your time?
Ah,
Like work, of course, career, family, vacations,
I like that
quality
question.
time.
I like that. I get to mix and match everything because of my flexibility. I can work from home. So when I work, my kids are around. I get to see what they're doing. I just don't leave them sa maid lang. I get to see what they're doing. Vacation, I always do racecation. So we go to like areas, different areas in the world.
To join races.
To
plus
join races, and then
sightseeing.
after the race, we go sightseeing. So you kill two birds
Two birds with one
with
stone.
one stone.
So you've been to Berlin.
I've earlier before the pandemic, I had races in Morocco, in New Zealand, and then post-pandemic, Western Australia, Berlin.
What's a standout experience in terms of the race?
I would say
Any-
Berlin.
That's really the memorable one.
Because it was my first World Marathon major. And I was surprised that from kilometer 1 up to 42, you have cheering people.
Mm.
So much energy from
So it
kilometer...
keeps you going.
Huwag ka mo, lakaw.
Maikog ka going.
Maikog ka mo, lakaw. Kay kita ba, mga endurance athletes, our tendency is we want to recover. So marag mo, walk run doon tataw sahay.
Yeah, more relax.
Mo relax gamay pero di ka ka walk run. Uy, kay daghan kayong tao, and then from different nationalities. Then you see people dancing, singing while you're running, ha? Very festive. Murag sinulog na nagdagan ka. Na dito man good sa Berlin and in most world marathon majors, the race starts at 9:30 in the morning. So, mata na tanang tao. Not like sa Philippines, kung full marathon, 2 a.m. may mo start, kisa may gamata ng 2 a.m. Di, ikaw ray gadagan, ngit-ngit pa kayo. One advantage sa mga world marathon majors. There are a lot of runners as well, 47,000 runners, imagine. It's a very festive atmosphere, so I would say it's one of the best.
What about in terms of places? Any favorites? Cold places or
Cold, I love cold places.
so maybe Iceland or
No,
or
not
Europe?
too cold.
More on
not
Europe?
too cold. Not too cold. I would say I love fall weather. Somewhere between 10 to 20 degrees. That's my comfort zone. I actually run faster in those certain in that kind of weather condition, temperature condition. I run faster. My heart rate is lower. My heart works lesser in that kind of condition when it's colder. But I don't like it also below 10. Tugnaw na sa gayo. Above 20, murag init-init na. So my golden temperature is 10 to 20.
Okay. I understand you also enjoy collecting cars, or you're an avid. You're a car enthusiast.
I'm a car enthusiast. I ever since I was a kid, I've always really dreamed of owning cars. We just didn't have the money to buy those cars. Even when I was in Sacred Heart, the car bringing me to school was a Tamaro FX when most of you guys were probably riding in Pajeros or diba? So I was definitely thinking about one day I could be able to buy my own
Dream car.
And I had my first dream car when I graduated in high school. I was awarded for my good grades. I was awarded a Honda Civic SIR. And that was a very nice car at that time. And
It's still around.
It's still around. That car is very close to me. That I restored it.
Sentimental.
So that car, I spent around more than 3 million pesos to restore a 700,000 brand new car.
You spent more
I
on
spent
the
more to
restoration
restore it
than the
because
actual value of the
we
car.
put a lot of kanang mga Mugen parts that I could not afford before. And then of course other cars came like.
What are your favorite car brands?
Well, definitely the best would probably be a Ferrari or probably be a Porsche. I would
Also
say
the luxury cars.
I mean, it's not only
sports
luxury.
cars.
I think that a lot of people think these cars are, showing off or maybe it's flaunting. But the truth is, these are cars with precision engineering, performance.
Yeah.
These are actually works of art. So, it's a lot of people think na, you know what, you're just trying to let people envy you for.
No, I think it depends on what one
In
is
the
chasing after.
Perspective, right? Depends on the perspective.
But of course, someone like you who's worked hard throughout,
Yeah.
so you can pat yourself in the back and indulge once in a while.
Yeah, but I when I buy a car, I look at the workmanship. I look at the precision engineering that goes into it, the performance, and I appreciate that sometimes it's handmade, or even if it's not handmade, that the number of hours
Yeah.
that has
The
been
detail
spent.
that goes into it.
Correct, di ba?
The
I mean,
heritage behind it.
the heritage behind it, the history behind it. Because I'm a car enthusiast, I mean, there's a difference between a Toyota Innova, for example, and a different luxury sports car, for example. I mean, how many hours do you do one Innova compared to a sports car? What material do you use for an Innova compared to a...
Of course, more high-end, more premium, so you also get more value.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, what about bigger cars like Defender or Land Rover
I have
Defender or SUV types?
I am actually starting to appreciate cars that can sit my family.
Vans or...
Vans, my G car, which I converted to a Brabus. Even a mid-sized SUV is something that actually something that I like now, because I don't have to worry about humps, about potholes. My preferences are starting to shift to more practical cars. But
More
I still
space, more
still
room.
like the car with 2 doors and 2 seats.
Okay. Other hobbies or other things you want to
I love to play
get
basketball.
into?
I still play basketball once in a while. But of course, playing basketball is a distraction from my marathon and triathlon training, because
It's very different.
it's very different. In basketball, you have to
Teammates.
accelerate. No, you have to. That's
Camaraderie?
one.
Well, the
That's one. But of
camaraderie
course,
also.
in triathlon, there's also such thing as in any sport there is. But the problem with the sport of basketball is you have to accelerate so fast, and then you have to stop. And that's a different muscle memory needed.
Yeah.
Or you have to do lateral movements.
Different skills also.
Yeah, and there's physicality, but I enjoy it. So once in a while I play as well.
I understand you sponsored for Shaba, or you're
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of the committee.
I'm actually the chairman of the current chairman of Shaba. Shaba is of course our alumni basketball league
Sacred Heart,
in
you're
Ateneo.
batch 2000. Right?
Yeah, I'm batch 2000. I really love supporting our batch because our batch is, of course, they're all very close to me, and I like the spirit and passion of my batch. We've won 3 championships together, so I've seen the heart.
Yeah, high school never ends.
High school never ends, and yeah, we have a lot of fun. It's Shaba is really, in as much as it's a lot of competition that goes on in Shaba, to the point that it becomes so physical. I think Shaba's essence and goal is really to bring us together once again, enforce camaraderie and oneness.
Okay. Going back to business, what's your management style or approach to
yeah.
of course, handling employees or assessing problems?
Well, growing up, I saw my dad as a very strict person, autocratic kind of person, who his decision is the only right decision. His idea is the only correct idea. That's what I grew up with. And in my early years of management, I was kind of leaning towards that. And then some life-changing events happened, like I got admitted to the Harvard Business School Owners President Management Program, where it's a 3-year program actually, where in every year I spend 3 weeks in Boston, and I'm with 100 other presidents and owners from different nationalities, different cultures, different perspectives, management styles. And I actually realized that there are other ways to solve things other than what my father does.
So it broadened your perspective.
It broadened my perspective. So I've always asked, what's your takeaway from going to Harvard? And that's it, broadening my perspective. It actually taught me that, hey, my dad's ways are not the only right ways.
Yeah.
There are actually other ways. And in a classroom in Harvard, when there is a discussion, it's always one side of the room has one opinion, the other side has another opinion. And no one is right or no one is wrong.
I think those perspectives have value.
Correct.
Yeah, it just depends on the situation and how
depends.
you can apply it.
That's correct. And I'm also part of a group called Entrepreneurs Organization. It's a group of businessmen from around the world, and there's a chapter here in the Philippines. There are 2 chapters in the Philippines, one that's based in Manila and the other that's based in Cebu. So, but of course, the Cebu chapter doesn't mean nga Cebuano ra gyud. I mean, there are members even from Luzon, even from Visayas, all over Visayas and Mindanao. So, the core value of Entrepreneurs Organization is trust and respect, thirst for learning, think big and be bold, and how do you call this? I forgot the why did I forget it? There's a thirst for learning, think big, be bold, and together we grow. So the core values, I resonate to the core values, and I think it has helped me not only sharpen my business skills, but also help me grow personally. That's why I want to invite you to join us.
Yeah, maybe I can consider. But would you say your dad was a major influence, a major role model?
Huge influence. I mean, in this interview alone, we've heard his name
Yeah,
maybe
you
100
bring him
times.
up a lot.
Huge influence. But we are the type who clash.
But I think those clashes are healthy to a
whether-
certain extent.
Whether it's healthy or not, we clash.
That it
but
brings about
deep inside,
ideas.
I have so much gratitude. I don't agree with him with several things, but my foundation was really built by him.
Yeah, I think he was able to also pave the way for you.
Correct. Of course, no
bring
doubt. It's just that there are some aspects that we don't agree, or several aspects that we don't
generational
agree.
gaps.
But he laid down the foundation of who Afshin Ghassemi is today.
Because I imagine he must have went through his own journey, so
Of course.
shaped his
And
worldview.
he was a first-generation immigrant, and you could imagine the difficulties.
So
that he went
different perspective.
Different experience, different perspective.
Yeah.
So definitely.
Okay. What's your general philosophy in life? Or for you, what are we here for? What's our purpose? And of course, we see so much chaos within humanity.
Correct.
You look at the news, economic issues or political issues, or crimes. So, what's your take on
Actually,
the world?
When I was sometime in college, I did question the meaning and purpose of life, to the point that what those questions that you're asking, what are we actually here for? I mean, why do we even wake up every day and work so hard when we're just gonna die someday?
Yeah.
Those, and I actually question the existence of the higher being that is God.
Existence of God.
I actually question that because coming from a family like with a very strong scientific, my dad is a doctor, my mom is a math teacher. So, although my mom's very religious, but you know, my dad's more on the side of logic and reason and
More practical, pragmatic.
very well. There's really no way we could prove God in a scientific way. There's no experiment that we could use to prove the
I think
existence.
that would be a very long discussion also.
I mean, that's what was in my mind as a
Yeah.
college student. So I said, is there really a God and what's the purpose of life? And then eventually, I realized that why does doing good actually feel good? Why does helping others feel good? Why does loving others feel good? Why do we seek to love others? Why do we seek to
there
do
are
good?
these intangibles in the world like love, the things you don't see, which are essential.
If life is just about 1 + 1 = 2, if life is just about science, why do we seek to actually make a difference
Yeah,
in
there are deeper elements.
Deeper
right?
elements,
We're not
right.
just a simulation or like robots
Mhm.
that are here and we
Correct.
just pass. So there's something deeper.
There's
there.
something different. So I started to conclude that there is a higher being.
Mm.
I couldn't say that that's Jesus or
Yeah,
that's
you can't
Allah
pinpoint, but
that's-
there's something there.
or that's what's the Buddhist?
Buddha.
Buddha or whatever people believe in. I couldn't pinpoint. Eventually, I lost my belief in organized religion because of that.
Yeah.
To the point that
I think there are many issues also with organized religion because there's an agenda there. So
yeah, I
for
mean,
me, my approach is spirituality.
correct.
It's
So
more of a personal.
So I think we're aligned in that.
Outlook.
More is believing in the higher being, believing that doing good and loving and being good actually is what we seek for, and therefore, life is not just about waking up every day and just doing what you're doing.
Yeah, it's a journey. and
It's a journey, and every time I suffer, I always consider it sometimes. I look at it positively as a way to learn and a way
Yeah.
to actually
better yourself.
better myself. So, I mean, it doesn't come to a point where I say I hate the Lord for giving me this problem.
So you're thankful for the problems because
Not really that I'm thankful for
or
the
they
problems.
help you
or-
grow or they're instrumental
I embrace or accept.
because they mold you to shape
Yes.
up, get better.
But I mean, it didn't come right away like that. I mean, there are also times where I question.
Yeah, of course. I think it's part of our human
Growth.
condition.
Yes, I mean, you question, why do we have to go through suffering? Why do we have to go through pain?
Yeah, all of that.
I mean, those are all questions that
Frustrations sometimes
Exactly.
they come
So,
out.
those things came into my mind, and eventually I was able to make my own conclusions.
Mm.
And like you, I'm also after spirituality.
Yeah, because a philosopher said, if there is no God, then everything is permitted, and it's really true. Because I think if everything was just random, then we would have no aim whatsoever. So there's something there
Deeper.
that's guiding us. Like, why do we strive to do good, or why do we care?
Why do we love?
to help? Yeah.
Why do we
Why-
want to love and be loved?
Yeah. So I think those intangibles are rooted in
Spirituality.
God.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So earlier you mentioned Harvard that you studied during the pandemic.
Correct.
How did you decide to get into that?
So, pandemic happened. Suddenly, business closed. We were forced to stop operations, and I got bored. and I'm a person who really needs stimulus. I'm a very passionate person. Either I'm running, I'm biking, I'm studying, or I'm working. I should have a stimulus. So I think this is the right time to study, because what am I gonna do? There's no business. So I applied in Harvard. I applied December 2020. 1 month before the course started, I wasn't accepted yet, and I followed up. And
This was all online?
Online. I followed up and I showed an article in the business world that featured me. And when I showed it, I think Harvard said, okay, this guy is probably worthy of a spot in Harvard Business School. So I got accepted just 1 month before the program started. And yeah, the takeaways are, as I mentioned earlier, is really the appreciation for diversity, appreciation for different perspectives. I think that's the biggest takeaway. I mean, apart from the technical things that you learn.
The people you meet also.
Of course, the people I meet.
And hearing their struggles.
And really being with the
experiences.
people who have similar issues.
Yeah, commonalities. Then you
Commonalities.
can compare notes.
Correct.
And somewhat have a benchmark.
And really, it feels good when you know that another person has the same problems as you.
Yeah, you're able to relate and you don't feel so
When
alone.
you resonate, it actually
It
helps.
resonates.
When you resonate with somebody, now you start to believe, oh, I'm not the only one.
You're not alone. Okay. So, now you're based in Manila, right?
Correct,
So,
yes.
how often are you in Cebu?
Usually, what brings me to Cebu is matters concerning my responsibilities with the alumni of Sacred Heart Ateneo de Cebu. So, I'm Vice President Internal currently of Sacred Heart. I'm Shaba Chairman, and sometimes friends of important life events. Like yesterday, I was with the first birthday of my best friend's daughter. So those things bring me here. But generally, I'm not here for business. I'm here for other stuff.
Okay. So, during the pandemic, you got into Harvard, and during this time, you also expanded. So,
Correct.
you were multitasking,
Mhm.
you're focused on your business expansion, and also learning more, meeting new people, plus the sport,
The sport was
venture.
actually
So much on your plate. No?
actually yeah. It taught me to delegate. Having so much in my plate actually taught me to trust other people.
Let go of some elements.
Yes. Even in the way I manage alumni matters, I don't do it like mangunay. Either I empower a fellow alumni or I empower my own employee
To do the task.
to do the task, di ba?
Give them something to do.
So basically, my job is really to, lay out the vision, lay out the goal, the mission.
Yeah, that's leadership.
Yeah,
Right.
and set the benchmark. I think that's really what my job is. But as to doing things on a micro level, I've graduated from that already. I'm 40 years old.
Okay. So in a month, you're in Cebu?
Um,
Or how often are
there's
you in
no
Cebu?
fix.
Fly in, fly out lang.
Well, sometimes I stay overnight. Sometimes I come here to train outdoors because in Manila, murag wa kay kuykuyog, diri na akong friends. So we can do a bike to Busay or Mayana. So sometimes like I come to Cebu for something else. Then I say, okay, I'll bike tomorrow as well. So I schedule like 2 days in Cebu. But
Okay.
I don't think nothing more than 2 to 3 days probably.
Okay. Delving again into role models, you mentioned your dad. Anyone else inspired you or was instrumental to your growth or maybe key figures like
Mm-hmm.
Kiyosaki
Well, of course,
or
the other key figure will be,
mentors.
of course, my mom should come in that list. Definitely, she had a huge impact in my life. Other people probably is people I look up to, like John Gokongwei or
Tycoons or
Yeah.
Forbes list.
Jaime Zobel de Ayala. These are people I look up to, and I read about their life and their biography, and maybe other people like maybe figures like Nobel Prize winners for social responsibility, and I think these are all impact. Those are all the kinds of figures that I want to learn more from, and try to emulate.
You mentioned social responsibility.
Correct.
What are you envisioning in that regard?
Going back to our discussion about spirituality, where we talked about our life's purpose. We cannot just be working for ourselves, and
For others.
we have to also
Time will come, it's for other people.
maybe we have to also thank our alma mater for
Those
for
foundations.
the
those
foundation
values,
the foundation of being men for others.
being selfless.
Being selfless. I mean, these are things that are already inculcated at the back of our head growing up. So, basically, I am able to do this through different organizations, although not my company. I do it through EO, and our batch 2000. We have a program called 2K Cares. And EO has a program called EO Cares. So basically, the program is about helping others help themselves. We don't believe in dole-outs. We hate dole-outs. We don't believe that giving a person a fish will feed.
Confucius.
Yeah. I always believe in
Teach them responsibility,
Correct.
right? Don't just feed them.
Yeah.
Kay mga nad na noon.
Well, there's a saying na feed a man a fish and feed him for a day, and teach a man how to fish and
Feed him for a lifetime.
feed him for a lifetime. So that's basically our guiding principle. So in 2K Cares, instead of giving money, we give them a sewing machine, and we help them.
Yeah, I fully agree with that.
That's one, and probably we give books to students, or when we became champions in 2017, we had a basketball clinic for kids so that they will not go into drugs, or probably we have. There was one time we sponsored, because we have doctors in our batch who also helped one person who had a leg issue. So that person with a leg issue is definitely unproductive because of his leg injury, and when the surgery was done, then he's now productive. So those concepts of helping others help themselves, and EO is also in the same spectrum of helping others help themselves. So we have EO Cares, where we impart skills like we have a member who owns Bruno's Barbers. So this guy brings his staff to teach the less fortunate how to cut hair. Or we have a member who owns a paint manufacturing company. So we actually teach them how to paint those things.
Teach them
And
skills. Right?
we have some owners who have restaurants, so we also teach how to not only how to cook, but how to actually
Run a business.
by
Manage people.
we're not yet to that point, but we were teaching them portioning to make sure there's less wastage, to make sure they are profitable. They understand what profitability is, because it's not just knowing how to cook is not the only requisite. I mean, a lot of people know how to cook but could not run a business because they probably don't know how to make sure that there's an efficient use of the raw materials.
Yeah.
So those are our advocacies. we say no when people ask for money.
Yeah, I think that's the more responsible and sustainable thing to do.
Sustainable, yes. I mean, that's one way of doing our part in society, and if all of us will actually contribute.
Yeah, I think that's the real kind of help.
Yes.
Not the, just give something,
Mhm.
then eventually they'll come back for more, which,
Mga nad.
yeah, as I said, mga nan.
They become lazy.
Yeah.
So
Or they'll abuse, or in the long run,
abuse,
that
yeah.
could happen.
That's actually a mistake on the donor, actually, also
Yeah.
for allowing that to happen.
So I think it should be more of a long-term approach,
Correct. And
rather
that-
than the short-sighted thinking of just giving
Giving.
something.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Any future plans or anything you might want to impart, or a parting message to whoever
Yeah, I
might
mean,
be watching?
first I'd like to
this?
thank you for the opportunity to share, some aspects about myself
Yeah.
today. I've always wanted to be able to inspire people. I felt like that's one of my life's purpose, which is to inspire people. I think that's one of the reasons why I've been very privileged to have lots of skills, talents, gifts from God, because I'm supposed to share this also to others. So this is a platform where I believe I could inspire people, and I'm very happy for this. I would just really hope that in this talk I was able to, make you inspired to wake up every day and be productive.
Yeah, I gained a lot of insights as well, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so look forward to seeing you in the future. And
Thank you, Michael.